all things begin and end in eternity.
I understand you just did a film.
Yes.
Which...
the director of the film is Nic Roeg, who started out as somebody I didn't know and ended up as a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And it's called
The Man Who Fell to Earth. How did that subject come to you? What decided you to make that film?
I liked the novel. It was a book by Walter Tevis. I liked the idea of it. It was very much more sci-fi and very straightish sci-fi.
You've just finished making the film called The Man Who Came to Earth.
Fell to Earth.
Fell to Earth, I beg your pardon.
I saw you in that film, The Man Who Came to Earth. And that was a man who was in his own void, in a way.
Yes, very much.
Do you feel that yourself?
Thematically, I've always dealt with isolation in everything I've written, I think. So it's something that triggers me off. It always makes me interested in a new project if it has anything to do with alienation or isolation.
Novels seem to be able to use a starting point of that, something, a situation where in which you've been put that's absolutely out of your control, but your emotions have been left somewhere. But life must go on. How to survive, you know.
And it's a bit like a Howard Hughes story, but he's sort of an alien.
Right.
No, but he doesn't look like a sort of alien.
And what part did you play in the film?
Those three.
All three?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, it's one person, but it looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it comes to the act of casting of someone. I don't like having a figure in mind when I'm working on the script. That was one thing. And after I'd completed the script with Paul Marsberg, we then looked at it and thought, who is this man? You know, who is this man?
Well, I've had the weirdest reactions from people who know you're going to be on. Some of them say they'd be scared to sit and talk with you. Some people said you would bite my neck.
It's not
very peculiar kind of thing.
It's what you want, really, isn't it? And what do you think I'm like?
I hope this doesn't insult you. A working actor.
I think I thought of David Bowie when I first was trying to figure out who would be Mr. Newton. Someone who was inside society and yet awkward in it.
What are you drawing?
I don't know how to explain that, but awkward in it. Someone that would find themselves, someone who is at odds with society.
My absence was really, I think, the cornerstone of my eventual involvement in it.
Well, you never know when you send something to an artist whether they, in fact, ever read it, that it goes into a void. I'm not sure. I don't think he liked it at first. You know? I mean, he read the script. The script is a very difficult thing for someone to read, and especially someone like David. And in fact, he was working on a script of his own at the time, and that's always much more difficult because you have your own preconception of what you want to do in a movie.
Hey, what's happening? Hey, do you know what that is? David Bowie?
And I didn't know David, but I'd seen his work, and it became a sort of fixation in my head. Because there were things, parallel things happening, oddly, or seemed to me, appeared to me in my observation or just thoughts about him that would parallel thoughts, not necessarily to the story, but to what I'd been thinking about the story and the attitudes in the story. It seemed to parallel kind of work that David was doing at the time. And I saw a documentary shot about him around.
It's called Cracked Actor by Alan Yentop.
At last, we have a star, David Bowie.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired.
It's kind of surreal because it was getting close to the point where we were casting the movie, you know, and I knew there was something that I had to get that was totally different. And suddenly this program came on, and by chance I saw it.
There's a fly floating around in my milk, and there's a foreign body in it, you see, and he's getting a lot of milk. It's kind of how I felt.
Feel like a natural woman.
He wasn't being over careful or worried about losing an image. Maybe that was the image. And almost from that moment, I couldn't believe it, because I thought, this is the man.
And I thought, there is only one person that really kept on coming to mind, and that was Bowie.
Come forward. Yeah, that looks great.
David, I'd watched him. It struck me that he was always different. An artist that got into a mould. He seemed to be always changing, and that attracted me, that he seemed to have that wonderful chameleon change and make use of his life and grow from it in terms of his work, you know. And I don't think you can put him in a box like a folk singer or a rock and roller. He is expanding and changing. Anyway, I came to New York, heard from various levels of management. Yeah, David will be in New York.
Actually, none of them were very level.
I phoned, and secretary said, oh yes, David wants to see you. And come round to the house. He's recording, come round at 10 o'clock. Maybe a bit before, he should be off by 10, so why don't you come round about 9:30, have a drink. And I got at 9:30 and I chatted away to these strangers till 10.
And boy, there were some strangers.
Strangers coming and going. And 10:30 came. There was a call from the studio. It looks like 11. At about 3, I thought, this is a wrap. This is not going to happen. But by that time, I think I'd had a couple of good martinis. I thought, well, if I stay till 3, I might as well stay till 3:30. And at 3:30, the phone went again, and they came back and said, it looks like it'll be certainly within the next half hour, maybe by 5 o'clock. He arrived.
I'm Nic Roeg.
Nice to meet you.
And we spoke for about 5 minutes. He said, I'm tired. I said, I can understand that, so am I.
But what I didn't tell him that day when he turned up is that I hadn't actually read Man of Earth. And I tried to kill the conversation as quickly as possible because I didn't want him to suss that I hadn't read it. So he was throwing bits of the film at me, and I was, yes, quite, absolutely. Oh, yes, I can see that. And so I'm bluffing my way through. And it was a combination of having seen Walkabout and actually meeting Nic in person that convinced me that this is something I should definitely get involved with.
Something happened, I can't remember at what point, but something happened when we seemed to get a complete understanding, and from that point we arrived in a position where the question's got to come, well, will you do it? And he just said, yeah, don't worry about it. Yes, I want to do it. Don't worry, I'm going to do it. And showed me to the door. I was obviously looking a bit stunned from 9:30 to 5:30 in the morning. And he said, I tell you, don't worry. Let me know when you want me. I'll be there. And I said, but we're starting in New Mexico. And he said, I'm saying, I'm going to do it. And he showed up.
David Bowie. She wants a young American. Well, she wants a young American, all the way from Washington. Her breadwinner begs off the bathroom floor. We live for just these 20 years. Do we have to die for the 50 more? All right. Well, he wants a young American. Do you remember your President Nixon?
It's a fantastic movie about power, space, time, and a visitor. David Bowie stars in The Man Who Fell to Earth, rated R.
All things begin and end in eternity.
They should have had Bryce say bullshit afterwards. All things begin. Oh, not more of your bullshit, Mr. Newton.